Hello and welcome to the 23rd episode, and welcome back to Skåne, or rather Småland in this case. I'm your host James for Gaming, and I'm playing Transport Fever today. So after the more confusing episode last week, where I had to redo it to start all over again, we are having the same issue once more. Meaning that I had to re-record this one as well, because the sound in the background is just so much so you can't hear whatever I'm trying to mumble. So let's unpause because we are waiting for a train coming in the other direction. Very soon. Whoops, it is. That was a little bit faster than expected. Let's do this. So, anyway, we are aboard the train Snapphanen, which is named after a form of forest warriors that tried to get Skåne back to Denmark. That was 18th century, I believe, late 17th century. Anyway, so this is the ViBJ, Vislanda Bolmens Railway. The other locomotive that we just met was the passenger service, and the locomotive for that one is called C.H. Holmberg, which is most likely named after the railway entrepreneur and member of parliament for the region, Karl Holmberg. The first station was Bolmen, that was where we started, and that's named after the lake. And Lake Bolmen is 173 square kilometers in size and has a very irregular shape with narrow straits, peninsulas at base. So it has a very large area, well, beach area or whatever to call it. Nowadays Lake Bolmen supplies half of Skåne's population with drinking water through an 82-kilometer long tunnel that has a capacity of 6 cubic meters per second. The ViBJ was built by a separate company but is an extension of the KWJ, which is Karlshamn Vislanda Railway. And was also narrow gauge 1066mm. The ViBJ and KWJ cooperated from the start and were later merged. In the 1870s, forest products rose in demand all through Western Europe. Norway, who had been an important exporter of wood products, couldn't keep up with the demand, and business people in Karlshamn came up with a plan to link up the forest-rich areas in western Småland, including Lake Bolmen, to the port in Karlshamn. In the first years after the railway opened in 1878, several steam-powered sawmills opened along the lake's shores. The stations on the ViBJ had often only one track with platforms, so the only station where trains could meet was at Ljungby. Passenger trains, that is. We are passing the area where Angelstad station is. It was added to the map. This railway was actually not really planned to end up in this series at all, but it actually 90% of it is actually within the map, so I decided to add it anyway. And as we are getting closer to Ljungby, the first known inhabitant in Ljungby was Astrad. See the first house there. And the runestone to his memory was carved 1,000 years ago. The inscription is Göstrad made this stone after Astrad, their father, the foremost of kinsmen, the Danes who in Finnveden formerly lived. And we are now doing a strange junction there. We are crossing the future Skåne-Smålands Railway in a not perfectly efficient way, as the ViBJ is 1067mm narrow gauge and Skåne-Smålands Railway, the future one, will be normal gauge. All transfer of goods needs to be unloaded and reloaded at the station. Oh, and Finnveden, by the way, is the area around this. It's called Finnveden. is one of the small countries making up the small land. And Ljungby became a city in 1828. So here we are at Ljungby. I have named this station Hamneda Ljungby because it's actually located where in real life Hamneda village is, because Ljungby would have been slightly outside the map. As we leave the station, the tracks are crossing the river Lagan, which is here. And Hamneda is today just a tiny village, but has no less than 590 ancient remains found in the area, which speaks of a more important past. The ViBJ was profitable from day one, thanks to the timber and wood products along the line. It was also a good business for Karlshamn and its harbour. However, that would change drastically already in 1889, when Halmstad Bolmens Railway, the HBJ, opened for traffic. Not only is the distance to Halmstad less than half as long as the distance to Karlshamn, Halmstad is also situated much closer to the important export markets in Western Europe. Close to the station at Tudaryd, which is around here somewhere, and not on the map, is the water divider between the North Sea and the Baltic Sea. And I think we are about to pass some bridges, yes. So the line passes through two lakes here. In real life there are 3 bridges over Lake Kyrken, and there are 2 bridges through Lake Trehörning. I've just added 3 of these bridges. And the competition from Halmstad Bolmens Railway, by the way, caused the ViBJ to go bankrupt in 1899, and it took 9 years before a solution was found. As you might expect, the KWJ took over the company. Interestingly, by merging the 2 companies, the ViBJ returned to profitability again, made a small profit every year for a while. And as we steam through the forests of Småland, we are getting closer to the next station, which is Ryssby. You can see it there. And here at Ryssby there is a spring where the heathens sacrificed to the Norse gods. That spring is nowadays found next to the church. And there's also a Viking runestone built into the church wall. You can always reuse good stones, right? Not far from here was Måla Skog station. That was not included on the line either. We have an autosave again. And from Måla Skog station was an important station on this line because large quantities of diabase were quarried there and sent out into the world by this railway. So it was an important customer for the ViBJ. As we are crossing the next lake, the traffic on the ViBJ was modest at the start. In 1880 there was 1 through train daily from Vislanda Bolmen and back, plus an extra train on Saturdays, which only went as far as Ljungby and back from Vislanda. By 1912, through carriages from Karlshamn to Halmstad. By 1912, there were 3 daily trains all the way from Karlshamn to Bolmen, and by 1920 there were 3 carriages from Karlshamn to Halmstad. As part of the voluntary nationalization of the railways in Sweden, the ViBJ was sold to the state in 1942. as the company could no longer afford the maintenance of the lines. Bolmen Vislanda was closed for operation in October 1966, and the tracks were removed before 1970. And as far as I know, there's nothing left of this railway except the track bed in certain places. And 3 years after the bankruptcy back in 1899, 3 years before the bankruptcy, there was a major accident in Vislanda when, on the 5th of February 1896, an engine shed containing 2 of the ViBJs and 2 of KWJ's locomotives burned down. All 4 engines were damaged but could be put back into service after reparation. Here we are passing a passing loop that I've added that don't exist in real life, and the reason for it, yeah, the red light even, the reason for it is that otherwise we are going to book one of the platforms in Vislanda station already from Ryssby, which is going to cause issues for other trains. But we are just waiting here for a green light. I'm not sure how long that will take, but we're about to find out. Because we are actually not only going to the passenger station, we are on the freight trains. We'll have to go through the passenger station and into the freight station, which is on the other side. So we'll have to wait. And we got a green light to continue, which means that we are holding something else up, but whatever. That's the way it is in this world of single track railways. So we are getting into Vislanda station, and first we are passing under a main road. Then we are passing under the southern main line. So the main road comes first here, and then we have the southern main line before entering the station from the north. And we are sharing platform, I believe, we are sharing platform with the KWJ here at Vislanda station, and there's no passing loop available for us. That's why we had to wait for a very long time for a red light. Because we are coming in on, I don't know if this is track 1 or 3, where the main line has the other 2. So here we are. And for more information on Vislanda, there is information available in episode number 18, which is called KWJ. King Oscar was proud of the locals, as we are getting through the station area here at Vislanda to get over to the combined freight station. So this little freight station here has one track of 1067mm and one track of 1435 to enable exchange of goods. And that was Vislanda Bolmens Railway. Thank you for watching, and see you soon back again for the next episode in Skåne.